It's the last time that I've casted this. It's hard to believe that it's been an entire year since then. Irik's basically been filling me in since then.
Yeah.
The roster. Well, what on one side you've got Charge, Vale, Fire, Arvin,
and Emil. Yeah.
Emil.
And that's a Team Asia roster there, which, I mean, for me, myself, like, I'm not sure how familiar you are, but I do recognize those players as, like, pretty strong in and of itself. My understanding is that this Team Asia roster, as Emil leads off in first place here, the first race of the match. He's been, I mean, generally, you see Emil playing in Mogi Lounge a good bit, and generally successful playing at the high level. I'm sure you, maybe you're familiar with Emil Sword.
Me and Emil are pretty good teammates. He basically gets quite excited whenever he rolls me. Emil is what I would consider to be like your typical Drac of all trades when it comes to Mario Kart. Like, very well revised in custom tracks, very well revised in regular tracks. Good with karts as well. Unfortunately, not much use of that going to come to play here, but it kind of just proves the fact that he's a very all-rounded person when it comes to the game. Opts to use Daisy as well. Pretty bold move for a runner to go Daisy, I want to say. Not many people manage to make that work, I want to say. Purely due to the weight shenanigans that goes on in this game. That I feel like I don't need to explain that to most people. But
hopefully not. I mean, if you are new to Mario Kart, though, that's the thing, right? I think this is the cool thing about the World Cup this year is that we have so many. This is I feel really cool to have like all these communities come back together, especially with 3 kind of Mario Kart titles in the mix. So we have maybe some some audience that isn't familiar with the game as much. But I think at a general level, you don't generally have the weight classes right across most games at least, and Daisy definitely being knocked around. But still, Emil in first place, having led the entire time, no difficulties at all, and you can see on the mini map, this is a big difference between top spots and bottom spots here. We saw Switzerland in second place, I think. No clue on the rest of where everyone else is here. But what makes is first kind of scary to be having on Maple Treeway here? Is this something that you like having at this point, or because I feel like back spam is pretty powerful here for Emil as he heads into the bridge?
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing about this track is just due to the fact that there's a cannon and there's a lot of boost panels in the latter half of the course, it makes it really, really good for running. And due to the fact that there's so many blind turns, the wigglers block off optimal paths if you're a bit too slow. It just makes it really, really good. But you might be seeing a shock coming from... Yep, there you go.
Yeah. Well, and still, despite the blue, though, like, still somehow staying in first, the shock comes in. No way.
Ooh,
no way on the line.
Wait,
Asia gets... I think I get... Okay, I can't tell because Asia got like 1 and 4, I think. But maybe Switzerland ends up getting second there, I think. Either way,
possibly.
Tragic for the Emil and Divs.
I had Charge's stream on the side as well, and I did notice that he was pretty much holding a Mega. I think he pulled it at some point during lap 2, so that was in mid spot 5th, holding a Mega Mushroom. So it was hard to tell when they were going to use it, but I knew that Emil's front run could eventually come to an end. But the second blue there is definitely a little bit. Oh, there you go. Then they didn't even need to cancel it. I was thinking they were probably thinking potentially trying to cancel it, but I mean, he still managed to clutch out 10 points, which is incredibly good considering getting blue twice in such a short span.
Yeah, that pretty surprising to get away with that note, and I believe that's a plus 17 difference for Team Asia to start off. Of course, they're playing in Group 2, which there are 2 playing groups for the Mario Kart Wii side of things. And from my understanding, we should be getting a look at both groups here today for Mario Kart Wii, as well as some Mario Kart 8 action later today. That'll be coming on later in the evening. But for the first few matches of the day, we have, well, Team Switzerland and Asia to start. We did have, what was it? It was Finland versus, I believe... Greece, which was like a new team coming in, and actually surprisingly, like Greece, for not having shown up and been able to gather for a World Cup before, they have a really strong roster. So we were going to take a look at them for the first match, but it looks like that was getting rescheduled. And yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I don't know how much you remember from play-ins last year, Sword, but
I only remember the latter part, so you'd have to cover me on the earlier parts.
Sure, yeah, basically Team Asia. So Greece having not taken part in it, and one of their team captain, Nico, is at least from Germany, and Germany had a great performance last year. Nico definitely a solid racer in his own right. But certainly, I think that's one of the teams to look out for in this play-in stage. Asia as well. They've been practicing, with a pretty consistent roster in the last few weeks. And I talked to one of their captains, Lexin, or otherwise known as Smash, and it looks like they're feeling pretty confident. They've scrimmed against what they consider to be the two teams they are most scared of in this play-in group, which is playing Group 2. And it's either Ireland or the Netherlands, which seem pretty, scary. Which I think, Sword, for you, you may recognize Netherlands from last year, of course, having performed as well as they did.
Colossal team. Just a really unexpected performance, I have to say. Honestly, didn't expect them to get nearly as far as they did, but they really pulled out the big guns. They were one of the fan favorites towards the end, I recall.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like their roster this year has very much changed. Leop's the team captain, kind of taking a step aside. So Netherlands having a different roster, but still a lot of quality players, especially from like players you might be familiar with if you've played Apocalypse. There's Thomas, Aditya, and other fellows there that basically would still make an Asia-Netherlands roster pretty formidable. But either way, all the same, we still have Asia and Switzerland ahead of us. Peach Gardens on lap 3 here. And Emil
is is he playing in a room of his own? Like, is this a time trial? Like, I'm just not used to seeing Daisy kind of just formidably run these tracks, man. Like, these aren't even Daisy courses.
They literally are. It's kind of insane. Although for the first time, I think we've seen Mio kind of take over. Mio has actually been in second place all race, just like they were last race. They will be able to get ahead here. Now Emil has to play around and play safe. Potential backspin coming in. Yep, is able to avoid that.
Really nice evasion there. He's going to use the red to kind of create pressure because they've got Fire who's up in front now. If they can keep this position, they're in a really, really good position because 1-3 is just such a huge amount of points.
That banana is actually lethal too. It actually forces him out of the line into the Monty Mole where that slows you down. And that's actually, that banana in and of itself, the positioning was able to scare Switzerland off and give Asia a top 2 there. So job well done on the backspam. And Switzerland's still doing all right. I think getting 3rd and 4th place, so the damage won't be too difficult.
Asia did get 5th. Yeah,
Gotcha.
But it's just, for those unfamiliar, or I'm sure most of you are familiar, but the way that the points distribution works is very, very top-heavy. The first place gets a whopping 3-point bonus over second place, and then second gets a 2-point bonus over third, and then third gets a 2-point bonus over fourth, and then it kind of just spirals down from there. Like, as you can see, like, Charge getting 5th place, only getting 6 points out of that, as opposed to 15, but still.
Right.
So like it's really, really crucial to nail these first places, and if you can't get first place, then you've got to get that 2-3. You've got to get the meat of the points, because anything from like 6th below is pocket change, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing. So, and that's generally why you can have like one really great player on a team in Mario Kart Wii, but if just one and there's too much of a disparity between the first player and the others, it's still really a struggle, to keep up in terms of the score. And there's, generally in wars, you can't really lose by more than like, if you lose a race by more than 20, it's a pretty big setback generally, I would say. Because it's really tough to get those generally just back in the game. I mean, generally in Mario Kart that it stands to be the case, especially between close teams. But yeah. So we'll see how Switzerland Asia can recover. But as we'll be going into Grubble Volcano for race 3 here. We'll be a little bit slow with the scores here. Apologies, we are getting up in the morning myself at least. And so
I just got back from work, so we're kind of playing this by ear at the moment. So
yeah, let me be 100% real. As professional of a bit we want to be running, and we love running the show, but we're also very, very human. We'll be chilling here. I'm helping basically do the whole production thing and casting thing, and so I think we're running off of a solid amount of hours of sleep.
I'm not sleeping too heavily these days, but it's fine. It's okay. Like, I got a message from Eric saying, "Yo, we got a World Cup tour cast." I'm like, I'm down. Like, I missed the play-ins last year, and I'm gutted about it because I had so much fun with the late game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting to see the strategies from these teams as well, because you see, like you said, there's all these new teams, these new countries and continents partaking for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Switzerland have a team last year?
They had Austria, Switzerland. It was like a mixture of two countries, right? But they actually,
yeah,
off of that experience, they were like, no, we have enough. We can actually just do this on our own. So, yeah, this is basically a new iteration of the team that is participating, I think if I'm not mistaken, across all Mario Kart games. In fact, some Switzerland members definitely taking part in multiple tournaments. And yeah, having to manage that all, which, for what it's worth, there are so many matches happening this weekend. It is across 3 games.
There's so much going on, yeah.
And it's insane because Mario Kart Wii with like 23 teams, I don't even know. I forget if that's actually the least amount of teams in an event.
Very well, maybe.
It's close with Mario Kart Tour. Mario Kart 8 having, I believe, somewhere just short of 36 teams. And so a lot of matches happening this weekend. We'll try to cover it all. And of course, if you want any updates, endgame.tv/MKWC. But what am I saying? It's lap 3, Grumble Volcano, Emil, second place, Asia, third and fourth. The shock comes in. Bullet Bill leads to Asia at least getting a Bullet Bill dodge, but I think that was a Switzerland shock. We see Asia all in 5, 6 right here, 6, 7 even. Switzerland seeming to have 3 of the top 4 spots. Yeah, that looks like a great race for Switzerland. I think they're actually able to get back into the match with this one.
Very uncharacteristic of Emil to fail the rock shortcut on lap 2 with free shrooms in a ideal position to be in. Kind of, I don't know, potentially feels like a Funky Kong at that point. Held right a little bit too much. Because like with Funky Kong, his handling's a lot worse than that of Daisy. So kind of clipped the rock, fell in, didn't make the respawn, unfortunately. So that was a bit of a bad play from Emil there. But I mean, he's been running most of these tracks like they were time trials, right? Like something was bound to go wrong at some point, and something like GV, especially in like a tournament setting, like the heat of the moment, you're bound to make a mistake. But it wasn't too costly. It's the kind of race that Switzerland need in these early races to kind of like get their foot in the door, as it were. That
Grumble Volcano was really everything they needed. That is a plus 13 race, I think. So that basically evens up the score. And if not, yeah, it's about, I think, a 3-point differential now that we're seeing between Switzerland and Asia. So Grumble Volcano often used as a kind of reset track for teams that kind of struggled with the race prior, because teams able to use that shortcut, and if you're able to whip up that shock and coordinate dodges and getting the shortcut, you can really make up a lot of ground. Whereas other tracks you might not be able to. So, yeah, Switzerland able to do all the right moves there and bring it really close up here. So, a tight affair after 3 races here. Going into the last race, of course, each match here is 12 races long. What do you think about
these votes? What do you think about these course votes? I'm seeing some interesting plays here. Because you got Move You Highway, which is what the other team wants, right? You want to run Move You Highway,
right?
Asia opting to go for MC3 of all tracks. This has become a bit more of a popular one, but obviously not important. We're on Moonview. How do you feel about Moonview as Daisy?
Oh my God, no, cannot. Could not ever.
No?
I mean, I can't hang with Daisy, folks. Like, shout outs to y'all, but like in general, but like especially on this track, it is obnoxious how much you get bumped around as Daisy here. It's just like it just feels so unfair. But yeah, I mean, Emil playing the safe route, or at least able to avoid the crowd here, gets a star in the back and is going to try to hold it up like every other player ought to be doing, especially with a lighter weight vehicle. And you'll notice Revise here for Switzerland. Revise, I do want to spend a second talking about here. Revise is actually an incredible player who I believe, my goodness, has the game awareness at least to mega the star out of Emil, and they steal the star themselves. Great play on Revise's part.
Speaking that play into existence right there. Pretty much a fan of that. But he pulls the star anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, a bit of a minor setback. Asia team in 6, 7, 8 right now with a bit of a massive gap.
I was going to say, I don't know about minor setback, because we do see on Moonview Highway especially any kind of like physical separation from top spots is pretty devastating in and of itself. It's very tough to come back with like the boost pads on the track that are able to generally keep the top spots moving in general. But yeah, Asia here falling behind by a good bit. They're able to coordinate a dodge though. Is there more than one dodge? At least Emil going to be able to come up here. Yeah, I think maybe having some other people to join.
Emil and Charge.
And the blue shell as well going to be devastating.
It's exactly what they needed. Oh boy.
Now,
is it going to be enough?
We'll see here. Mio has to be it can't come up with huge plays, but the triple greens here could be lethal. Does have it, maybe going to call out, or just hold them around, play it safe. But they come in contact, I think, with the bomb on another person's screen, so Emil is going to actually maybe detonate on top of another player. Pow does come out. Can Asia secure the top 2 here? It looks like they're going to be able to. Wow.
It looks promising, yeah. No, I mean, that's the definition of a shock that completely turns the tide of the race. Like, you saw the gap between 5 and 6 there. It was like a solid 7 seconds between them. But Lightning at the opening of Moonview Highway proving to be brutal as always. The only part of the track that's not littered in boosts. Amazing play by Revise, but the game kind of tossed a bone to Emil and said, hey, man, that was a bit unfair. I mean, drop your star, bro. Here, have another one. And that kind of just allowed them to make that play.
Yeah,
it goes against the fact that like Moonview being as run heavy as it is, like people, you know, I'm personally of the opinion that Moonview is kind of oversaturated as a running track. I think that's
right. Yeah, I think it really, like, shock can have a pivotal role in how the race generally ends up going, but you are correct in that, like, it is so often the case that teams can catch up, especially if, like, you know, they're able to not get separated too much. And what we saw there, Asia, yeah, they were separated by a bit, but it wasn't anything that a shock dodge couldn't recover from. You notice that Asia chose to, and it was a very deliberate choice to use the shock towards the beginning of the lap where there aren't boost pads that, you know, hypothetically those Switzerland players in the front, as small as they would be after a shock, could just recover with boost pads normally. So that's why you see a lot of teams stress getting the shock at the first part of the track as opposed to the latter half of the track. And yeah, they were able to take advantage of it and come back up. I believe the score after the first GP is 128 on Switzerland's, sorry, 125 on Switzerland's behalf. I might have that wrong, so I'll wait to confirm that, really. But either way, it's either around a 16 or 6-point differential. 5 to 15 points, let's say. Going into the next race here, yeah, I think we were talking a bit about Revise before he surprised us a little bit, but yeah, Revise has played.
Not surprised. He just spoke it into existence, man. You're like, yeah, he's a really strong player, and he just has the brain to realize that, like, Asia dodging on that race is not what they need. Like, they need to break that gap. But unfortunately, lost the coin flip with Emil getting that star in 8th. But yeah, no, tell me a bit more about Revise. Why do you think he is like such a pivotal part of their team?
Yeah, he's played at a top level entirely, you know, for at the MKPS level, right? And just for Mogies as well. So, yeah, just a very solid player. And I think coming out of, I might actually be wrong on this, so do not quote me on this. But last I checked, I think they reside in the U.S. and they have ancestry that goes back. I might be wrong in that. So it was actually kind of surprising because Revise was one of the players that you could kind of maybe even see playing like for a U.S. roster if it got to that.
Exactly.
So a really top caliber player in that regard. And yeah, certainly a player that Switzerland can look to. But even saying that, we've seen even like other players step up from Switzerland. Mio, for example, we've seen actually the most for having a presence in the top spots. Great snipe coming in from Emil.
Oh no, yeah, Emil getting a really nice snipe there, but not really having the time to react to make it around the turn. But that green then hitting another racer, didn't quite catch who that was.
That was actually the bagger as well, the one that Emil was just to hit a player driving backwards. So that actually does help a lot. Yeah, players sometimes do have, sometimes maybe it wasn't intentional, but some players, the great players, do have the awareness to go for the bagger on the other side. And make sure to slow them down, and that's what helps the other bagger, or the bagger on your team, be the one in 10th, be the one to be able to get shock at 30 seconds. And it looks like Emil might have some part in helping with that. But either way, bomb to a bottom spot, and Asia once again find themselves in 7th and 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, it were another track where, again, you want to kind of be at the front because of its ability to just, like, blindly back every single corner with, like, fibs, banana shells, and whatnot. And there seems to be a lot of mid-pack exchanges going on between Emil, Revise, and Charge at the moment. Absolute jackpot pull yet again, Emil, with the star in 8th. And the pack, it's not the most spread, but it's, it's not the tightest either. But this is just such a pivotal item to hold in 7th. If they have another dodge and they happen to have shock again, they can coordinate something really, really powerful here.
Yeah, certainly. And I do wonder, I mean, looking at the mini-map, can't quite tell much from the bagging department other than one Funky Kong. Seems to have quite a lead at least going backwards over the other. So
they have a massive lead. It's Asia all the way up in front with them with 2-3 right now. Pow striking. Emil with the power.
Oh, wow.
It's all in vain.
So it's a Switzerland shock.
Shame.
It's a Switzerland shock, and they surprise Emil there. Emil obviously not predicting that, not expecting the thing to come at the first item set, and that's probably exactly why Switzerland used it there.
Yeah, they know they need it. Fantastic. That gets them up there. I mean, they still have a massive clutch hold choke grip over this race at the moment. A lot of Asia up there. Emil's going to try and take... Yep, there you go. Marvin's out. And they just need to keep this lead. There's a possibility of a second shock being pulled due to how early the first one was used. Mio's and Revise kind of... Switzerland's running hope right now, trying to keep the scores balanced, and
another shock.
Again spoke it into existence. There's your second shock.
Was there I think there was someone in the star, but I don't see anyone moving up just yet. Maybe they hit back spam on the way up from the spiral, hit a banana or something like that. Either way, Emil gets a TC, maybe able to outline. Yeah, does outline towards the end.
Really good play. Yeah, perfect item for him to pull at the end. Kind of just invalidates any kind of hit that would happen, and he doesn't have to worry about the shrinkage because he'll just make it to the line. But man, I'm seeing some good plays from these players, but I'm also seeing some really good item pulls that are surprising me. I mean, like, you win some, you lose some, right? Incredible power dodge by Emil, being able to hop over it to keep the star, but to just have it immediately removed. But even still, like, I think they just had such an early break on that track from the beginning. It kind of made it really hard. Like, Revise doing God's work there, managing to clutch first, and Mio getting fourth. That kind of hangs them in there to, you know, suffer the blow of Asia getting 2, 3, 5, 6. So they're kind of hanging in it at the moment. Just been informed that the scores are reversed.
Oh,
so
good call, good call, good call.
Around.
Thank you so much. Shoutouts, you know what? Shoutouts to Twitch chat for helping us out here. With keeping us updated on the scores. Honestly, keep it coming. This is something we're doing together, right? 138 to 106 after the first GP. No, I didn't. Yeah. 138 to 106. And a Team Asia race win coming on that race at least. So approaching the race 6, we will be at least most likely be having a more than 40-point deficit. But it's honestly surprising because like the end of the N64 BC race, you had, you know, Switzerland in pretty impressive spots there in second and third. There was really the potential for first place, for maybe a potential outplay on first place to, you know, maybe snipe with something, and something as simple as that can land you into a top 2 scenario. So that race could have gone really far more differently for them. But alas, the lead continues for Asia. They're playing well. Emil having some very deadly reds throughout that race and kind of locking things down, especially towards the shortcut around SD4 BC. But alas, we're on DDR. Not a great track for Daisy either here. No,
not at all. Her traction, her tightness, it doesn't really aid here. This is like the perfect funky track. And yeah, I mean, like, if she gets bumped anywhere, it's, you know, sayonara, which is not what you want. But I wonder why they picked it. I'm thinking potentially Revise being at the front. This is another track where I think people are starting to realize that this track is incredible for the runner. If you start in first and you know the strats here, you can kind of just break away for free. And you can see, like, Emil's driving really, really well, but Revise is just gone. Like, he's just gone. He's just booking it.
Yeah.
And, like, Daisy's going to be losing time everywhere to Revise here, so...
I mean, all that said, Emil is racing pretty well, right? He's still able to keep up, but yeah, it is so difficult, especially with the, you know, the backspin impossible on this track with the tight parts on the track, right? The bridge we have up here, and even towards like the wall glitch where, ooh, Franco, nice bump onto Emil, gets them into the sand there. We do see a lot of Switzerland in top spots here, so good change of pace to see for their side. But in the meantime, yeah, it's something that there's so many backspam spots that allow first place to generate a lead, especially if they have the lines to really make sure, and all the strats to really make sure that they stay up there. It's a great track for frontrunners.
Yeah, I mean, like for once there, you see Emil pull something a little bit less than ideal, blooper in 7th, but these triple shrooms going to come really, really in handy. I'm assuming they're just going to bank on the fact that shock's not coming, because if you get shocked here, it's pretty detrimental. And I don't think I've seen that in a hot minute. I don't know what happened there, but
oh my god, I missed it.
7th to first?
I missed it. Oh my god, yeah.
You missed it. Emil kind of just, I don't know, passed the whole room, but there were people doing the cut as well.
What happened? What happened to everyone? Okay.
Kind of paved the way for the king here, but I mean, like, where's Revise? Where'd he go? I mean, he's still up there, but interesting.
Maybe some shenanigans happening. Either way, shock does happen. Okay, it's gonna get Emil after the box, and I'm sure if you're Asia, this is not a shock you want to call when you have top 2. So maybe getting Switzerland before. Oh my God, the blue shell coming in at the end, and that gets Emil on the line again, and
it's Maple Treeway all over again.
And this time, that might actually have consequences. I think Asia getting 5, 7, and 8. So Switzerland. Maybe, again, a crucial race, crucial item pulls happening, which, I mean, it is a shock and a blue, admittedly, for Switzerland, but it's not like we haven't seen that happen on the other end of the track as well. So Switzerland may be having something to say here for getting back into this match here.
Man, you got to feel for Emil there, though. Managing to just, keep up with the Funkies with Daisy, even during the cut to just pass everyone up, drop into first. I don't even know what happened. I saw it on Charge's screen. He kind of went for a little bit of a swim. Weather's been pretty hot here in the UK. Not sure if it's the same over there, but, maybe just needed to cool off a little bit. But it just seemed to work out for Switzerland there. Like, right. I assume they might have had that for a long time, and because Revise was up there running, it's just like, you know what? Hold it. If a blue comes, cancel it. Because like you said, DDR is just an incredible running track. But I don't know what happened. Like, the start of lap 3 happened. Everybody played a bit of musical chairs. The entire roster switched positions, and then I guess a shot was called to get Emil off the boxes. And
right. Yeah.
One pulled a Cloud in 4th, and that was, like, ideally a decent pull to get.
Yeah. For the last set, sometimes you really get those lucky TC pulls, and it rarely happens, right? For the most part, the TC is not an item we look forward to getting, but in those situations, we make an exemption for the item.
You're going to be absolutely right on your call, by the way. The blue on Maple Treeway kind of just causing Emil to drop to 3rd as opposed to getting 1st, so, a minor point spread. Going to be losing that race by 15, Asia. So, pretty bad. Like, that blue hits a little bit later, like, Emil makes it to the line, completely different result. But that's exactly the kind of race that Switzerland need, and I don't recall who voted this, but this is a bit of an interesting one, this track. I mean, you see so many crazy plays on this. It's like, this is the track to be like, never count me out until everybody's crossed the finish,
literal
right?
end, yeah. And what I found interesting was, I forgot who did it, but someone did some kind of like data collection for like what was the most picked track in Mogi Lounge a while ago. And like they did it by like all the divisions in Mogi Lounge and like tiers. And still, at the end of the day, across all of them, BC3 was by far the most popular. And it makes sense in that this track so much is possible. And it's a really fun track to be able to play and be able to have that comeback potential on. And obviously, some teams really like that to their advantage. On the other hand, something's really specialized in being able to, back spam trap on the shortcut in a way that they really are able to break away from the pack and play that in coordination with maybe power items they can have to block the shortcut. Nice back green, which typically players in the top spots, they throw the green forward to go against the wall to come back to hit players. The green actually go back faster if they do it that way, as opposed to like throwing it back yourself. But yeah, it looks like Emil here, 8th place, kind of struggling. Not a great item to be holding, probably holding it on behalf of another player, and wasn't able to get rid of both bananas there on the shortcut.
No, really unfortunate first lap bumpage you saw there. Franco asserting dominance as the heavier Daisy. If you look at the map right now, you can see the other Daisy kind of up there. It was Franco lap 1. They both had a little bit of an arm wrestle at the cut, and Emil was the loser, I'm afraid. Kind of got bumped out of the alignment needed to make the Ultra. So Emil's kind of been chilling in the back. Franco with the big lead, and that's going to be a really bad respawn. You don't want to fall off on this straight. Nintendo were like, yep, this entire straight, yep, one respawn right at the start. Great.
So I know we were talking about like how, comebacks are possible generally, like totally, all over the...
Emil could still win. If he pulls like a Bill and 8th, that's not a Bill and 8th. Like, never mind. I take it back.
Oh, that is a Bill and 8th, though.
What?
Manifest it.
No, all right, listen. I have no control over the item mods, I promise you. I don't know what's going on here. That was not scripted.
Can you do it, Emil?
No.
Oh, my. Okay, he might be able to make it work. And the shock may be in play. We see Mio in 8th place. I think the shock. He's gonna. You gotta let it rip. You've
He's
gotta let it
gonna do
rip.
it. Come on.
Use it.
What's he
Hurry
waiting
up.
for?
Go.
What is he waiting for?
I don't understand what's happening here.
It's lap 3. I get. Okay, he just wants to pass all his teammates for the indiv. I get it. Okay, no worries.
Maybe it was like they are so far gone in top 2, and we have 3, 4, 5, 6, and that I don't want to bail my teammates. I am confused, but maybe that's what they were thinking, and that's fine. That's fine.
I need an explanation
I will assume there is. I will assume there is a reason for it, one way or another. And Emil is how to figure it out one way or another. Either way,
I see.
Wasn't that a really good race for Switzerland that we just saw there? Or are we gonna?
From what I'm getting from Twitch chat, by the way, you guys are the best. Shout outs to Twitch chat. There was no point in billing. Top 3 were just gone. Franco was just like, "Yep, I'm gonna sabotage email. I'm gonna do my ultras, and I'm gonna book it." And then I guess the cut was unblocked for the other Switzerland players, and they just had a discernible top 3. So even if Emil used that bill after coming out of the Ultra, the only thing that he probably would have accomplished is scoring points, knocking his teammates off the track. Because the bill is kind of weird there. Like, he could steer it left and they could go right, but I guess there was no point, really. Maybe they knew they didn't have shock and they knew they didn't have a chance. Because, like, with BC3, if you have top 3, the cut's blocked, and you're holding shock, oof.
Yeah, you've got it on lock at that point. And so... Yeah, really struggling to really catch up there. And now what that's translated to is a 5-point differential now between Switzerland and Asia. They super did, and now they get MC3 here. Well, I actually don't know whose pick this was. I could see it being an Asian pick. Honestly, though, I mean...
It was. Yeah, it totally was. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They've got 1 daisy each. Funky's very competent here. There's only like 1 turn that's not really good for him, so it's not even that. It's just... I think this is a good neutralizer. They have top 3, right? MC3, get them out. Get them out of those top 3. Really good bomb there. Yeah. Incredible bomb.
I'm curious where that bomb came from. Because, that backspin was so unfortunate getting onto a teammate there. But still having 2-3, they had Shrimps to be able to catch up with it. Emil, though, it's the life of a daisy. It's a struggle, to say the least. But
it really is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He just got juked. Well, I mean, you never know. It might have been like more reds, not ideal there.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal. I mean, so just to be clear, that there are sort of trolling rules, so to speak. But the rule, I believe, is that baggers can run into players if they aren't shrooming or using a power item. And what we saw there was the bagger just driving along. So I believe shouldn't be an issue there. But Emil in 8th place with the star, holding on to it and hoping for the best. Emil maybe holding on to something as well. Use the star in anticipation, and I think that signals that Asia may have shock. And that could be bad news bears for Switzerland, as I know they do have some top spots here. TC doesn't come into play. Maybe they weren't able to pass it in time. They're just going to have to call it. And you know, maybe that's fine. Asia in 1st, 2nd place. That's a top 2 seemingly for them. Maybe some moves on Revise's part. Okay,
I think Revise may have clutched it overcharge. Yeah. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah. And that's big, to be sure, with what should be, I think, a good amount of races left here. So, yeah, we will... I mean, that 2nd place is huge. It is a 2-point difference between getting 2nd and 3rd, as opposed to the majority of other places, which is just a 1-point difference. So, it does matter. But we will see. Asia, a job well done to keep things going, hold the dodge, and especially just to be able to get shocked there.
Yeah, he gets 2nd. Yeah. Really, really important. I know it doesn't look like it, but those extra 2 points is a 4-point swing between Charge getting 2nd and him getting 3rd. And those 4 points are going to be the difference between life and death in an event that's this close, because I think there was only a 5-point differential going into that. So they need to hang into it as much as they can. Yeah. That shot kind of really helping Asia out. Like, it was unfortunate that like Mio used the star at the start of the lap, but they were probably expecting potentially a chain into 1st set. But I mean, all of Switzerland were kind of camping the 1st set, lap 3. So they kind of knew that they didn't need to use it that early. And obviously using it that late kind of guarantees Emil the win.
And yeah, and so I mean, I basically they just had, positionally they had their bases covered across the board with the right amount of people up front and also people coming up from the back where... I don't know. MC3 is definitely a luck track, but you see some teams like picking it because if you can get into 1st after the first 20 seconds-ish, it's possible to very much hold it because the track is so tight, and often you get these like kind of backlogs where, yeah, things just get a little busy and people start bumping each other, and the pack starts slowing down behind top slots sometimes. So maybe that played a role in that. Either way, we are going into the last Grand Prix with a 16-point difference, and Team Switzerland not having the greatest of races, but Asia doing such a good job to be able to at least give themselves some breathing room going into the GP3 here. Sometimes that mental component to it is the important thing, really, or a very important thing for teams. But all that said, how do you think this pans out? How do you think this pans out, Sword? We have 4 more races left. We haven't seen Switzerland in the lead yet. What do you think?
No, we haven't. The thing is, like, Asia seemed to be getting the majority of the good end of the deal from a lot of these races. You have the one-off race on BC3, and I hate to think what the scores would look like currently without that top 3, because considering that they're still down a little bit with that gargantuan race that they managed to pull. It just seems to be situationally, like, Asia just seemed to be at the right place at the right time. You've got these... It's basically a 1v1 with Revise and Email up front on a lot of these races. You get Charge up here as well, and then Mio, and then everybody else is kind of like fighting for mid-pack to kind of like, I don't know, secure those dodges, those Megas and Stars and whatnot.
Right.
And, yeah. It's I don't know how I feel about this track, though, for Switzerland, because, yeah, it has catch-up potential, but a lot of that revolves around whether the lightning's pulled.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's pretty tough to be in a 1v2 situation here for Revise, especially between first and second place, especially between triple greens. Blueshell is going to come out, though.
They needed that blue, really, really good, and they've both got triple greens, so they're both going to try and fend each other off. Revise obviously taking the Shroomber on the right to gain that little bit of extra time over Email, knowing that Funky should, in theory, be able to just outforce lines on Daisy here.
And the subtle thing about that, tricky back spam, maybe that green is going to get on.
And they are really going for it. Yeah. Watching, like some Avengers movie here. Like the green snipes here, left, right, and center. Email's probably not going to throw this red. Probably going to hold on to it, I'd imagine. And yet, purposely taking the turn wide.
I think
where are the rest of Switzerland? I need to know.
I mean, the rest of Asia and Switzerland are back together. This is a 1v1 between the two here. Revise, I think, clipping some part of the track, but ends up running into a fallen green shell anyways, and so finally some breathing room for Switzerland there. A shock will come out, though.
Incredible shock for Asia. 3 dodges, 2 Megas and a Star first set. That's going to set Switzerland back massively. Revise up there, but it's just going to get immediately passed, and this is not looking pretty. Revise the only one up there. Currently
top 4, I think.
4.
Oh my goodness.
Top 4 with Email goldening in his life away. This is not what you want to see when you're rooting for Team Switzerland right now. That shock just... a perfect shock, I would even argue.
It was actually one of the most perfect shocks I've seen in a while. That's a blue shell. You have to be careful here. Make sure to space away. I mean, you do have the top 4, but is the pack... Okay, the pack is pretty far gone, but there still are some players that could upset. Revise here behind. If they can hold this top 4...
That power is huge, maybe.
Huge!
Yes, any of the... Yes, look at that. Fantastic. Okay. They pow Asia on the turn. Get the Switzerland players in the air with their shrooms so that they can overtake, just to get that little bit of pocket change. That is salvage.
It's like,
that is so important.
That is literally the best. Okay, the literal best plays coming out from both teams. Asia with the shock that, like, the timing was to die for, where Asia had everyone slowed down perfectly and called it just right, where they were mid-pack, slowed down, got everyone on Switzerland after the box. In those situations for Switzerland, you do want to make sure to try to maybe have a player or two behind. But yeah, Asia seeming to have top 4 at the end. They get 2-3 off of that. My God. Turning it around entirely.
What a turnaround. What a turnaround. I was honestly, like, I was talking earlier about how, like, Asia just managing to be in the right place at the right time. And I think them having the Megas and Stars and coordinating that big brain shock was just, you know, a testament to that. But I think I've just not been giving Switzerland the credit they deserve. Like, clearly that play at the end with the PAL, they knew what they were doing. They just like, right, we need to get top 4 around the turn, and we're going to bank on shrooms. And thankfully they did. Thankfully they pulled it. Like, the 2-3 salvage there, like, keeps them in it.
It really does. It really does. And with that being said, like, that turned a race that was probably, like, maybe, like, game set and match for...
Almost curtains, I want to say. Like a top 4 when they've already got a lead like that, and there's only 3 races left.
Yeah, that changes what I mean, right now it's like a 23-point difference. It would have been like 45 or more than, or like around 40, the 40-point marker. So really big
for morale. Morale is important as well, man. Like a race like that keeps their spirits in it. But heading on to BC.
Yeah, I mean, even all this said, this is such a struggle for Switzerland. It's so hard to be behind like this and to be pulling off these kind of like clutch situations and just hanging in on there. It's exhausting. And like Asia definitely have a chip on their shoulders with, you know, the worst that happened to them there was, you know, losing top 4, sure, but they still got 1-3 in decent spots after. So like still, it's not the most devastating. They're not in like, you know, a part that's like mentally pressuring, or at least the most pressuring for them. It's not like they've choked anything huge. So Asia still definitely have things going for them. Glitch coming in for a meal. Job well done.
Yeah, I'm really worried about this track pick. There's so many strong Asia players on this. Like they're just running it at the moment. You've got a Switzerland player for the cloud right now. You got the blue shell coming in, which is going to take out Franco, which is exactly what you need if you're on Team Asia.
Right.
And it's going to get him a really bad spot, I want to say. And now look at this. This is literally the perfect situation you want to be in. I mean, if I know Emil correctly, he's just going to book it and, you know.
Not able to avoid the POW with the shroom there. That is pretty important. So nice timing on the POW there. Doesn't quite slow them down, it seems, that much, but it does get rid of the shroom there.
I mean, you say that, but okay, he opts not to go for it, right? Okay, I feel like if he had the shroom, he was going to go for it because it's Daisy has a much easier time with that glitch, and the shroom is pretty much like insurance. If you get a bad angle, you can kind of salvage it. Right. And I think they know, like their lead isn't huge. He can't. I think he wants to. I think deep down, Emil wants to go for the, you know, the showboating. He's pretty much like that, but it's smart. They're in a really good position right now, though. This is not looking good. I don't know what Switzerland can do with a lightning to kind of turn the tide of this around. Considering they have top 2 and a shroom in seconds. Like, yeah,
it's tough to say, really. I mean, I wonder what the no way.
Whoa!
I don't know who that was, but is that really a target shock on first? And like
second over the big jump.
No
and
way.
Then first in the half pipe.
Was that actually intentional? Oh, that timing?
I think shocking Emil was luck. I don't think that was intended. I think they realized that Emil's too far gone. They should probably try and just, you know, salvage the the high mid spots.
But Emil now in second, right? I mean, let's see.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to be able to pull out anything at the end there unless it's another tragic blue shell at the end for Emil, but that's not going to be the case either way.
No, it's not going to do it.
Asia with 1-3, that's going to be enough to keep at least the lead unless devastating spots.
Revive's getting 4, I think, so a bit of a switch up there. You've got 1-3 and 2-4 from both teams, but
yeah. So I think what ends up happening from this is a generally neutral race. I think Asia doing a good job to get at least like a couple points win. And it just making it all the more difficult for Asia with 2 more races, for Switzerland with 2 more races to go, having to make up this deficit, which it's one thing if you have a full GP, it's definitely another thing if you have 2 races left.
Yeah, okay, so we did call it, yes, we got 2-4 from Switzerland. That's really unfortunate. That a shock that kind of worked really well in Switzerland's favor, it just wasn't enough. Because BC is just one of those tracks where you can kind of just force outlines and just go, and if it... I personally don't really like it because of how important the first 3 turns of the race are. And I think a lot of the track is decided by how the first 3 turns go. And you've got such strong Asia players in that room playing that for BC.
Right.
Where would you want to take Asia if you're Switzerland right now? You're down a little bit. You still have a chance. You still have the ability. You need first.
Yeah.
Ideally, you need second. You need a top 2. What's the play?
It's a great question. I mean, it looks like Sherbetland is actually a great pick here for their spots. So Switzerland with 2-4, I believe. If first place doesn't get a great start on Sherbetland, they start off on like a part close to the wall, really, if I'm not mistaken. And they kind of get like a bad angle for the right lines for getting the too many turbos at the beginning. In second place, it has a good angle on it. They do get the pick. It's going to go Sherbetland. So yeah, it is fortunate here for Team Switzerland to get this, and let's see if they're able to get a good start here. Of course, it is Sherbetland, and you can catch up pretty easily on this, especially with the shock. and how
shock is
you can
right.
also just like catch up on this slippery ice part here, where people generally go slower and shrooms are more advantageous to use here. The only exception to that being inside the cave space where it goes back to the normal terrain. We'll see if Emil is able to hold this first place. It could be pretty crucial in how Asia is able to hold down the fort here for the match. But this is race 11, and still Asia in a good spot, getting a green onto someone. Did you catch who they got the green on there?
I think they did, yeah. Kind of like, I think Emil went wide and then cut in tight, and that section in the cave just being so tight and so claustrophobic, especially with the penguins and the pillars.
Right.
It's just so very, very common. With these backs as well, like, you do not want these two to get a top 2 break on this track. You really don't. So that, I don't know, you're going to need something a bit more. Potentially catch up with some shrooms on the cut, if we're lucky. Not buying it, and a really early shock at the minute mark. Not really common to expect on Sherbetland. Usually you see it, I don't know, end of lap 2, start of lap 3, but
yeah,
second set lap 2.
What I'm noticing is that, I mean, from looking at the mini map, it seems like one person's very far behind. So I imagine that last place got the shock, and they're like, hey, I'm in last by a mile. I can probably get the next shock. If you want to use it, we can use it, and they must have seen a good opportunity for it. So either way, what it's resulted in is still a tighter pack than it was before. And now the blue shell coming in. Emil is going to have to take a seat from first place and maybe get in. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, look at that. I don't know if you caught that, but my man slowed down and lined up that shot like he was playing mini golf. And he knew that if he touched him, he was a goner. Yeah. That's important. You need to get Emil out of top spots. Emil being the formidable runner on the Asian team.
Yes. And keep in mind, this is a 34-point difference. It is so much that they're facing here. Emil actually doing a good play just for the sake of the match is slowing down, forcing. It's not a good play on Switzerland's behalf, even though they do need to stay behind for dodges, which they might have shock here. But slowing down to force them behind from the rest of the pack, you see it's so much bigger now. And great play on Emil's part.
Here comes the next shock coming in clutch as well. Another dodge from Asia in the high spots there. You had a Swiss member up front, and then Asia following behind 2-3. That Mega's just going to absolutely demolish any hope they had of kind of securing that top spot. And
I think that's top
really getting the points they needed.
Is that top 3 for Asia?
I don't know what happened to Mio. Mio was up there. Mio may have gotten second or third. It depends on what happened. It was one of those dodges where it was used so well that on Charge's screen, the player that dodged was in the Mega still.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a weird quirk with this game. If you dodge in a Mega, on your screen, you shrink back to normal size. However, if you do it in such a way that you do it really, really quickly, the game doesn't quite recognize that the shock hits at the same time. So you're huge on everybody else's screen, which is obviously a problem. Mio being able to hold on to that, though. I'm thinking potentially in the Mega, a bit afraid to squash their team in 2-3. Possibly played that last turn a bit safe, just to make sure not to flatten anyone.
Right.
Holding in that first place, really huge, but like I said at the start of the race, they needed more than that. And it was looking really hopeful, but something happened to Revise. I didn't quite catch it. After playing mini golf with Emil, kind of just, I don't know, like, we got to the shroom and Revise was there. Possibly might have been pushed off or sniped off. Not sure.
Yeah, hard to say, but either way, what that's translated to, I think at this point it is, as I think you mentioned, should be the game, or at least that's the result of it, is that it should be a Team Asia win for the match. So Sherbetland not panning out the way they wanted it to go, but still going. I don't know. I think this match was definitely very promising for Switzerland. I definitely much more bite than I expected to come from them, because Switzerland, just from their performance last year, at least from that context alone, I was expecting something similar, except I recently just remembered, like, oh yeah, Revise and yeah, Mio actually performing pretty good last year. So I do think they can really have stuff come together for them in their following matches if they can bounce back. But either way, it's GV2 here. We'll see how this last race pans out.
Yeah, Emil opting to go backwards, interestingly enough, deciding not to run this race. Not sure if that's a tactical move or if that might be the end of the road, but yeah, I think Switzerland are going for an all-run, realizing they kind of need as many of the top spots as possible. You've got Zach the Bagger going for a Mega, trying to squash Emil, slow them down, but unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of Switzerland back here. And Emil, again, formidable foe with those reds and the blue. And then the shot coming.
Shot coming. They are doing the all-run strat, so it actually... I have to apologize. Switzerland can come back here. It's a 31-point difference. They have to do a lot of damage here. We'll see if they can do that. We do see a couple of Switzerland members up here. Asia in 3, 4, 5. It won't be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough.
It might be.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, that I think that should be it. So I actually kind of played myself and played ourselves here for a bit. But yeah, that will be.
I thought it was over as well, to be fair. I mean, you get a 1-3 from Switzerland, but like I said, like going into a race 11, they really needed that top 2. They needed another race like BC3. They need because that race just bolstered them back into it. Because I mean, Asia's kind of been having a bit of a clutch hold on this match since the beginning, right?
Right.
Like slowly breaking away with like 10, 15-point races. Then you have that BC3 race that just slaps it all the way back down to, you know, like even Stevens. But unfortunately, just... I don't know, it's just Asia just being up there a lot of the time from what I noticed. There's just a lot of Team Asia dominance up the front. And I mean, yes, Lightning is good. It is a powerful item. We saw that on Moonview from Team Asia's side where they were able to make it work. But if you're far behind and you're falling behind, then Lightning can't save you too much on a lot of tracks.
It really can't. Final score, it is 381 to 351. A big thank you to our Twitch chat and our community here and everyone that's joined us so far for helping keep the hype going, keep track of scores, and help us do this, because you can see Mario Kart, you know, as much as maybe some people want it to be, isn't, you know, a multi-million-dollar esport. We're definitely, you know, adding up points, working on a lot of volunteer time, and a big shout-outs to all the staff that's helped make this happen and everyone in this community that's made this happen. And so the start of the stream obviously being a reflection of that. And we thank you all for joining us for what should be a very fun weekend, very fun month to come ahead of us. Now,
I just think it's really, yeah, it's interesting with all these new teams, man. Like, I kind of want to hear more about them, because I just feel like I just don't know much about a lot of these new teams, because I think this is a record for the most amount of teams entered into the competition, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. And, you know, I actually would love to talk about them, but I do think we do have to go to a quick break coming up. When we come back, we have our next match almost ready, actually, between, I believe it is Finland and Scotland. Finland having a sub. They were just able to get together a team here for the Mario Kart World Cup here, and now they come off of their first match against Team Greece, going down by around 200 points, so definitely struggling. We'll see if they can get their feet back on the board against Scotland, which is actually seeming to be a pretty formidable roster in the play-in stage. We'll go over them and more when we come back. Don't go away. More World Cup.